to do a quick clap to sync myself. Joe, could you say something for me? Could you say your name, if you don't mind?
Joseph Cadronel Eskenazi.
And when were you born, Joe?
I was born in the year, on the month of January the 30th, on the year of 1918, 1918.
And where were you born?
In the city of New York.
And can you tell me a little about your family, and did you have any brothers or sisters?
Yes, I had a brother and a sister, and they're all gone now. I'm the only one that survived. And let's see, about my family, they came from Turkey, Smyrna, in the year of 1913 to the United States because of a great service that a brother of my mother, his name was Nisim Cadronel, he rendered a service to an American gentleman that worked at the U.S. Mint. And he told them, if you ever think of going to the United States, I can help you. I'm a man of influence there, and I can help you. And it so happened that there was a war going on in Turkey at that time, and the family decided to come to America. And that's how the whole family came over. I forget the name of the ship, Marca Washington or something like that. They sailed over, and they came to that place where all the immigrants that arrived at the U.S.
Ellis Island.
Ellis Island, yeah. And from there they went to Washington, where my uncle got a good job there at the Mint. And later on, my grandfather got a job doing some kind of, he was what he was used to doing was working at a mine as a superintendent of the mine. That was in Melas, the city of Melas, which is south of Smyrna, about 50 miles south of Smyrna. And he decided to come along, and because his son had brought the whole family over. His son's name was Nisim Cadronel. And he also died of, I think he was about 103 or 104, something like that. And then they moved from Washington to New York. And there they were about a year when President Wilson said we were at war. at that time. We were at war because they had sunk one of our ships, the Lusitania or something. And that was enough to bring us into the war ourselves. And it's an interesting story because he come from a different country to a new country, and in this country they had just at that time declared war on Germany.
And the Ottoman Empire.
And the family decided to go to a safer place to live, to the city of Mexico, the country of Mexico. So they moved to Mexico, and however, I was born in New York, and also my brother and sister were also born in New York.
So all your sisters and brothers were born in the States?
In the States. So then we lived there. I went to primary elementary schools, and it happened to be an American school run by missionaries. And at that time they allowed that in Mexico. Later on, by orders of the President of Mexico, they say we have to have an equal amount of teachers teaching English and also Spanish. So things began to change because of the politics involved. And by then I had already graduated from elementary school, and I graduated with an 8.5 average, which is pretty high.
Was your primary instruction in English or Spanish?
It was mostly English because this was an American school, but later on they had to put Mexican teachers and taught Spanish.
But you had already graduated by that point?
I graduated by then. I don't know about the dates and all that. I have a record of that, but from there I came to, I lived in Mexico, but I was living in the city of Puebla in Mexico. And then I moved to the capital, which is Mexico DF, Distrito Federal, Federal District. That's the capital of Mexico. And there was an American school there, and I went to my first high school there. First year of high school, I was a freshman. And then it happened that my father had died when I was only 5 years old. So I was brought up by my mother. She was a wonderful mother. And she taught us the right things. They believe in the Ten Commandments, but then she was having difficulty at work. And
what did she do for work?
She was a dressmaker. And from that time in Mexico, I was 4 years old my mother decided to go back to New York and really learn her trade. So she worked for Saks Fifth Avenue and Milgram's, two very well-known,
Very prominent.
prominent. She really learned her trade like a master. I would say she got a master's degree in it. She could look at a person and see what defects their body had and correct it by the way she made the dress.
Wow.
That's how
That's her skill level.
they used to say, Senora Bellina, you are not only a dressmaker, you are an artist. That's how she was complimented by the governor's wife, which was one of her clients. So
And what did your dad do? You said mentioning he worked for the Mint?
that was in Puebla, city of Puebla. And then later on, like I said, I went to high school in Mexico City. And then by that time, I thought I'd better start working to help my mom. And there was an uncle that was working for a company called Salterini, and he was an artist there. He used to design lighting fixtures, and he taught me a trade to how to design and build lighting fixtures and wrought iron work, a lot of wrought iron work. So I learned the trades, you might say, at an early age. But in the meantime, I was going to school learning trigonometry because I was interested in going out in the field with a theodolite, an instrument, taking measurements for level and also for height, which is a different instrument. You use a level for that. So I started working in topography. And by the time I came back to the States, I was 18 years old. I came back to California with an uncle, and we set up a factory of outdoor furniture. And I learned the trade there too.
Where was that located?
What?
What city was that located in California?
In Mexico City.
Oh, the factory.
Yeah, Mexico City DF Federal District.
Where did you and your uncle move to in California when you came?
He used to work in New York at a company called Salterini. And he taught me the trade. And however, the war broke. We were at war at that time. That is, the World War I had started, and I figured I better get into this military service, because I know there's a war on and I want to be part of it, and I volunteered. And at first they asked me, the officers that recruited you, when I went, I said, I want to be a Marine. He said, you don't qualify, you need very high qualifications to be a Marine. So I said, okay, if I'm not a Marine, then I'll try the Army. The Army was glad to take me in. And they sent me to a place called Oceanside, where they had a company of 29 things. Maps, do the field work for the mapping company that was in Portland, Oregon. In Portland, Oregon, they used to make the maps. We did the field work. We'd go out and with our instruments and take shoot angles with a theodolite.
Hold on 1 second. Just a little over, because I can pick it up on my microphone. Close here. Cool. It's just no, it's okay. Gracias. Sorry, Joe. I could hear your phone on your mic, so I just needed to get.
Okay.
So you guys are going out in the field.
Out in the field. We surveyed all the way up and down California. And we occupied all a lot of mountains there. And I like that work. I like field work. I said, from now on, I think I'm going to do field work. Because they also offered to take me in as a designer to make the maps, make contour maps.
A cartographer.
To show elevations. A cartographer, yeah. But
did you go to basic training?
The basic training. Well, I wasn't in the military at that time. Oh, yeah, I was in the military. I had already taken my basic training. And I qualified as an expert marksman. I did so well on shooting with a .45. Later on, we were given rifles, the M1 rifle. We started out with a .45, and expert's medal, yeah, from that. And from there, I was shipped to, I was told I was being transferred to Hawaii to be there with the 804th Aviation Battalion, where we would be taking care of the airfield.
Like Wheeler?
Airfields. And so...
how did you take care of them?
How did I get where?
Oh, how did you take care of the airfields? In the sense, bulldozer, or making sure the runway was clear, or what was your job?
No, I worked in the drafting room, doing maps, working on maps. And however, when we were attacked on December 7th of 1941. And I knew Admiral Richardson of the Navy had given ample warning about a possible being attacked, that we were not well prepared for that. And he sent this message to FDR, Roosevelt, our president. And I said, you know, I don't know why we're not on Class A alert. I knew that we were on Class B alert. And nobody could answer that. They gave me a blank stare like I was cuckoo or something. And they just had no idea what was going on. Don't you know that there's almost a war between us and Japan? Don't you know that? It's on the it's on the news. It's everywhere. You hear about it.
So that's how you were made aware of the Japanese and their aggression, the radio and stuff like that?
Well, I was up to date on the news. My fellow soldiers were not interested in that at all. And I said, you know, we should be on a Class A alert. And so one of those days that I was so concerned with our safety, a friend of mine, Carlson, a Swedish boy, came by on a Jeep and said, Joe, I have to deliver some mail up on the hill up there. Would you like to come along? Because there's something interesting they're doing. They're installing a system that detects aircraft in the air. They call it radar. I said, sure, I'd like it, very interested in that. So he took me up there. There were two technicians that explained how you'd see on the screen, you'd see bleeps that showed aircraft that would be flying there. So I knew that we had radar, and I knew that there would be warning in case of war. What I didn't understand is why we were not on Class A alert. So the morning of December 7th of 1941, we were all asleep. It was a beautiful morning. But we were woke up, almost thrown out of our beds by the sound of bombs falling. We thought the bombs were right where we were. They were at Pearl Harbor. We were at Schofield Barracks. So I says, hey, listen, guys, we're at war with Japan. That's why they're... And a voice way back, I don't know who it was, said, no, I've been through this before. It's Navy on maneuvers. So I got dressed, went outside, I saw a Zero fighter fly over my head. He was flying so low I could see his binoculars. And then I saw something that looked like a bomb dropping off. And it was going down into a ditch that was about 15 feet below. Oh, well, I said, thank goodness, if it explodes, I won't get hit. Well, it didn't explode. It just happened. Maybe it was a dud, I don't know. But what it was, maybe it's still there. But I didn't report it. And they had the call to arms. So we all fell out there on formation. And Captain Tibbs, he was riding a motorcycle. He was the head of the whole battalion, the Company C. And he was waiting for orders. When do we mean? We were there 20 minutes, almost half an hour.
After the attack had started? Huh? After the attack had already begun?
When all of this time you would hear bombs, and when the Arizona bomb went off, it was a sound I'd never heard before in my life. It was such a tremendous explosion because it ignited it went through the stack. The bomb fell in through the stack where all the ammunition was, and it all blew up. And that was the Arizona when sunk.
How did you react?
What?
How did you react when you heard that? When you heard the sound of the Arizona going up, how did you react? Or what did the formation do?
Where were we at? When we were still at the base at Schofield Barracks.
And you were still in formation?
We hadn't left yet. And once Captain Tibbs says, we're ready to go now. So he took off. We followed them to trucks. We loaded up and we took off. And on the way, it's only 20 minutes, something like that, to get to. We passed Wheeler Field, and the destruction, our whole fleet of P-40s were destroyed because they had arranged it that way in case of sabotage. That's Class B alert. And all the planes were there goes our only defense we had for the air. There were no planes taken off. And we kept going, and we went into Schofield Barracks, and there our sergeant got out the truck. He says, my hand went up without even thinking, and because I knew the destruction, the amount of boys that were killed. 3,000 men lost their lives there. So I volunteered to take the bulldozer across the field. In going across the field, I see like the runway runs.
Like he's about something like that.
but I'm going across the field. I'm going this way, he's going this way. And so right away I stopped the bulldozer. I got my rifle ready to shoot. I think I shot a couple of times. And plane kept going until disappeared. Then when it was out of sight, I saw a cloud of dirt kicking up. Only, I would say at arm's length. That's how close. Blew up, yeah. His machine, 30 caliber, I think, machine. And I think, well, I didn't get hit, fine. Keep on going. I went and delivered the bulldozer. And at that time, I forgot the incident. I didn't think of it. I didn't report it, that I'd been shot at. And we spent the rest of the day, we were told to go up 80 feet up in the air, pulling ourselves on a rope and walking across the beams. A lot of destruction. But we weren't doing anything except that's what we're told to do. You would see nothing but tracer bullets and searchlights all over the sky. Waited till morning because we were supposed to fix the railroad tracks, broken up, blasted with bombs. And we accomplished our mission. I was there with a acetylene blowtorch and cutting pieces of rail that would be replaced by new sections. Because the ones that were there were like this.
They were basically rolled back from the explosion.
And that's it. That was my experience with the
that night.
Then the next day, President Roosevelt, as he gave his famous
Attack, witnessed the sky explode.
we slept on the ground in sleeping bags. We were there looking at the sky because we were supposed to repair the railroad in the morning. We did, which was to they would get the big guns across, artillery, because we didn't know. Well, we knew that their ships, a whole fleet coming over. By the way, do you know that the radar people reported, they said to the command post, they told them, there are hundreds of aircraft flying to Pearl Harbor. Be on alert. Sound an alert. They said Forget it. We have airplanes coming from the U.S.
B-17s.
and that B-17s, and actually there were about 12. No, there's hundreds of them. There's about 300. They disregarded that order.
I actually have some questions before Pearl Harbor. What would you guys do for fun when you were stationed at Pearl before? Did you guys go to Waikiki Beach or Diamond?
Most of the guys go to Hasby's, which was a Japanese place. And they had spies there. And I never went there because I didn't care about drinking sake.
Gee.
Why didn't I go to a higher up and told them we should be in the class?
I'm curious, Joe. I'm curious. Why did it matter to you to understand what was happening around the world when you were just a teenager? When you mentioned the other guys didn't care about this stuff. Why did it matter to you?
I listened to the news, and I knew that we were almost at war with Japan.
The Japanese attacking China at all during that time, or was it just you were concerned the Japanese were going to bring their war to the U.S.?
From China to U.S. Yeah, they were really knocking for China at that time. I was interested in what was going on.
Now, at the same time, you're mentioning, and you frame.
Interesting at the time. And though the Russian was our enemy, and we were actually, what we're doing was helping Russia by sending them what they needed for the war, because they had losses during the winter months. That's another thing I knew. That's a mistake that Hitler made. Didn't he read history? Because this happened before.
So you of Pearl Harbor, you got during the attack of Pearl Harbor that night. You're sleeping by the railroad.
We're sleeping out, and they're looking at the sky. Searchlights, tracer bullets. That's all we saw. Outside of that, there was nothing going on. There was, I think, there was an incident where there was one of our aircraft was brought down by our anti-aircraft fire.
Now, did your company suffer any casualties from the attack on Pearl Harbor?
No.
Did you help with any casualties or anything to that degree?
No, what we did is, for the next few months, is build defenses, foxholes, airport. We had, I was stationed in Kahuku, and we were making a dummy field, which means that it appeared to be an active field, but it wasn't. And they had airplanes with camouflage to it. And however, we were working on it so that we make it a real runway for B-17s. It so happens that the ground would not take that kind of a load.
It would sink.
They were only good to land very light aircraft. Why? Because we were below sea level, and anytime you put too much weight, the water would seep right through.
Now I'm curious, when you built these airfields, did you guys use something called Martson matting? Like the steel sheeting with the holes in it? Martson matting, the steel planks you'd put out on an airfield to make it like a steel runway?
What we had was steel mat.
Okay, that's it.
We'd set a line, scrimmage line you might call, all the way across. Then we put these plates that were, I think, about 10 feet long, and lock them in. And then when we get the thing, all the pieces were in, then we put them on top, and we'd unroll it like you unroll a rug. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, but was that difficult?
Because we'd keep rolling it until we had, the thing was about this high, and then we'd all push, and we'd get that section of runway made with stainless steel. Yeah. That was one of the things that we did, yeah.
And this was still in Hawaii?
Huh?
This was still in Hawaii? In Hawaii?
Yeah, in the light. Yeah.
And so you did this for a few months after Pearl Harbor. Where did you go to next?
After several months that we did all our defenses, I was designing pillboxes. Pillboxes made out of concrete with a lot of steel in case it was hit by a missile or a bomb. It would be destroyed, but it would offer some kind of shelter. And that's what I was designing in the drafting room.
Hey Joe, we've actually been going, let's see, for almost 45 minutes. Would you like to take a quick break or get a glass of water or anything like that?
Well, I'd like a little water.
Yeah, totes. 1 sec, I'll get you.
Yeah.
Here you go, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Good. Yeah.
And we're probably only going to go for like another 15 minutes because it's almost noon right now. I've already been here for an hour and a half. It's crazy how fast time goes, huh? But so you were designing pillboxes.
Yeah, pillboxes.
And then from there, where did you go?
From there I went to the island, Christmas Island, which they shipped us on the Haleakala, a little boat, and we were escorted part of the time. But when we were getting close to Christmas Island, we didn't have an escort anymore. That was gone, they told us. And during the trip, I was there where the guys were vomiting and playing cards, and I started feeling the effect of being enclosed and down there in the hole. And I says, I gotta get out and out of here, or else I'll be doing the same thing. These guys puking all over. So I did, and I knew that they had patrol on the ship, not to allow anybody out. They didn't want any lights or any. So I got out and I saw a lifeboat. I got into it and I said, oh, I'm safe here. They don't know I'm here. They didn't see me. But you know, after a while, it wasn't very long either. Maybe half an hour. I couldn't take it. The wind was cold, and I started feeling cold all over. I says, I don't think I'll be able to take this. I better get down again, because I can't take the cold. I didn't know that before, but I discovered that I can take heat, I cannot take cold. So I went down below and I was okay.
And then how did you guys arrive to Christmas Island?
Yeah, we arrived there in the morning. Everybody's looking to see an island. We started seeing palm trees. There we are, we've arrived. And then we saw the skipper up there with his eyeglasses. Before that, he had his Saxon, but he had his eyeglasses. He looked happy that we arrived.
And what year was this? Was this 1942?
Huh?
Was this 1942 or 1943?
It was in 42.
I can understand your skipper being happy because Japanese submarines were very active.
Yeah, very active.
So when you arrived...
That's why we were escorted part of the way.
And why your lights were off too.
Huh?
And why the lights were off too at night, so the Japanese submarines couldn't see you at night.
Yeah. Yeah, we were lucky we made it.
So what happened when you arrived at Christmas Island? Did you guys
The first thing we saw was, as we approached them, they brought the British flag down and hoisted the American flag. It was a land lease deal that the British allowed us that because until then it had been British. What do they do there? They had the copra industry. They got the oil from the coconut trees. And they maintained it in good health. So there were men from the Fijis, Gilbertinos, to do the work. There were no women. They had taken all the women off. But these were big guys, you know, for loading and unloading ships and that sort of thing.
So what was your job when you arrived?
My job was to take care of the electric plant generator for the 101st Infantry, I think. Provide them with lights. And that's what I was supposed to do. Keep the generator going, oiling it, and changing the oil and keeping it running. That was my job, yeah.
Did you guys run into any issues trying to maintain the generator, or did the generator ever basically fail you and you had to repair it, or what was the biggest challenge?
No, it always worked pretty good, yeah. I never had any problem with it. I kept it running. Of course, I was not there very long before Major Seacat allowed me to leave the island, go back to the States, and go to on the 60 CTD. First, we went to Biloxi, Mississippi, where I took a series of tests to see if I had the ability to push buttons and that sort of thing. And my eyes, they checked that. And everything I passed is, yeah.
Did you do a colorblind test too?
Everything. For color and everything. And the thing I didn't like about Biloxi, Mississippi, is because I saw signs there. We don't allow dogs or soldiers in a lot of places.
Really?
Yeah. I said, what's this? I don't know that people here don't like the military.
Did you ever face discrimination yourself when you were in Mississippi?
What?
Did you ever face discrimination yourself when you were stationed in Mississippi?
No. No, but these signs that I used to see, it bothered me. Yeah. And from Biloxi, they sent me to Pittsburgh. It was, it looked like it didn't look like a school or a university. It looked a lot more like a church. That type of architecture.
And was Pittsburgh for your advanced training?
How's that?
Was Pittsburgh for advanced training, or why did you go to Pittsburgh? You need to...
Let's see.
Do you need to use the restroom?
No, I want to see it. I got... That's the one that broke. It fell down and broke all my.
I see what you mean.
Yeah. Um,
This one?
yeah.
Oh, albums. Okay, here we go. Photo albums. Do you want me to grab one of your photo albums? Oh,
Oh, maybe they're here.
uh-huh.
This is survivors of Pearl Harbor. Wow. And
Is that your Zippo?
and this is my grandson.
Yeah, he's a SEAL.
Yeah,
I could see his trident right there.
right. And this one is
Donald Trump.
no, I'm looking for one that shows the University of Pittsburgh.
Oh.
I think
Oh,
this.
that's it.
Yeah,
That is it.
yeah,
Oh, I could see how you say it looks like a church. Wow.
yeah.
Put this right here. I was just showing the camera this.
Yeah.
I'll put that under these. Right there. Okay, I'll move this out of the way.
Yeah.
Now, Joe, I noticed something
Yeah.
in here. Why do you have a menorah?
Why do I have a what?
A menorah.
Oh, because I come from a Jewish mother, and if you're considered a Jew, that's why. I don't practice Jewish religion too much, because my grandson is Catholic. He became Catholic. Why? He said, Grandpa, you have to have Christ pardon you because God won't do it. God is too strict. If you commit anything against the Ten Commandments, He's not going to forgive you. He gave His Son's life that job, and that's why he believed in asking not the Lord but Christ to forgiveness, because He gave His life for that.
Now, Joe, did you grow up practicing your Jewish faith, or were you raised a Catholic too?
No, because I wasn't brought up by a man. I was brought up by a mother. And mothers don't have much to do with their religious traditions. It's the males.
So you didn't have a bar mitzvah, for example?
Yeah.
Did you have a bar mitzvah?
No. No, I didn't have a bar mitzvah. I had a circumcision, though. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious because I saw that, and
Yeah.
because I remember you mentioning your mom raised you on the Ten Commandments, so that's why I was curious.
Yeah.
Now, I did find something when you opened up this cupboard. Is this your company at Pearl?
Yeah, Pearl Harbor.
At Schofield Barracks, right
Schofield Barracks, I tell you, it has a date where we
Yep.
arrived.
November of 41.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Have you ever had this digitized before?
No.
I would absolutely love to restore and digitize this for you because this is an amazing photograph. I noticed there's a lot of wrinkles in it. So,
Yeah.
with your permission, I can take this back to the museum, and when I come back next week or the week after, I can bring this back and a digital copy of it too, so that you can go through it and we can look at it too.
I trust you with that.
Thank
Yes.
you, sir. Oh, because this is so cool. I saw this and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's a company photo.
Yeah.
You were Company C in the
Company C.
804th Engineers.
Air Force Engineers.
Wow. Okay, so you were planning on to become an air cadet. You were mentioning that's what.
Yeah, right. And by orders of Hap Arnold, they canceled the program after, I think, 6 months of college. I got two years of college. It's the equivalent of 2 years.
In 6 months. So because he canceled the program, what did you do next?
They canceled it. I think there were reverses going on with the war where we were bombing our own people, and I don't know all the story that's behind the decision that Hap Arnold made to cancel. But what he told us is that they had all the pilots they needed. They didn't need it.
And so where did you go next?
Well, I went and the company commander said, I've been looking over your record, your military record, and you should have a commission. You should go to the school in Virginia and get the training you need to become an officer.
OCS, Officer Candidate School.
Yeah. And so they sent me there. Then I said, after a while, they say, you could even get out if you wanted to. I says, how come? I'm in for the duration. He says, no, it's how many points you have. You get out on points. So I wanted to help my mom in the worst way. And she was living here in California, living in a hotel. And I said, I want to take care of my mom now. And so I decided to get an honorable discharge. They sent me back to Fort MacArthur because that was the law. They wouldn't discharge me where I was. In Virginia, they would only discharge me where I enlisted. So that's why they sent me back.
So you enlisted at Fort MacArthur. Is that where you signed up for the military? Was it Fort MacArthur?
Fort MacArthur.
Really?
Yeah.
In 1938?
Yeah.
At Fort MacArthur?
Fort MacArthur.
I work at Fort MacArthur too, so this is phenomenal to me. Oh my gosh. So you were living near San Pedro when the Pacific Fleet was in LA before they went even to Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Did you ever hear when you were at Fort MacArthur, were you ever there during one of the gunning practices or test shoots for the coastal artillery?
No.
Okay. I was curious because they only fired those a few times in the 30s, and I was really just curious if you were there for that too. But real quickly, you mentioned at the table one story about Christmas Island that I wanted to close out with before we conclude today. But you were telling me about how you were on Christmas Island taking a jeep full of officers to a test firing that you saved their lives.
Yeah.
Can you describe what happened? And how did you save their lives?
I must say, it must be my instinct. I saw a ditch. I says, in order to get my wheels back, I gotta turn my wheels this way, I'll be in the ditch. And I did it anyway. But then I heard the big sound of all wheels, boom. Oh, I'm on the ground. Oh, I was so happy. I thought we were all going to get killed because I'm going towards the ditch.
If you don't mind, Joe, can you describe how you got into that situation? Because you described how you were supposed to pick these guys up, but I wasn't recording then. So I was hoping to see if I can capture the whole story. So why were you even driving these men in the first place?
Why was I driving? Because I was assigned that. Captain Cat was his name, and he wanted me to drive. But he was giving me the wrong orders. Yeah, he told me, we're late to step on it. I really did what he told me, and it turned out they're going around a curve. The Jeep started going up, and I would say we were up at an angle of 45 degrees. And I said, if any more of this, and that's it. So I turned it anyway towards the ditch, and the wheels came down.
And then when it came down, what happened to the end of your Jeep?
It started to fishtail. And so I gunned it, and the Major Seacat says, oh, you're going too fast. I says, I have to. And there was another officer there were two officers. The other one was in charge of the motor vehicles. He was an officer too. And he said, this man should be going to, be a pilot. He saved our lives. And that's how they got me back to the States.
That's how you ended up to be an air Force.
Yeah.
Now, before we end for today, I'd like to ask you one question before I leave, and and feel free to take time. But my question to you, Joe, is what does being an American mean to you?
I love this country because my mother instilled that since I was a child. She told me what a wonderful country this was. And everything I saw confirmed it. My mother is right. This is a wonderful country. And there are laws, everything about it. And that's how I got to, the love of this country was given to me by my mother. Yeah. Yeah.